Hi, it's Mike with the Portage County Safety Council. I'm here with my friend Jennifer Parmenter for Family and Community Services. How's it going, Jennifer?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Fantastic. So, Jennifer, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do at FCS.
So I'm Jennifer Parmenter, and I'm the Clinical Counseling Supervisor over at Family Community Services. So my job is to just supervise the counselors and case managers. So we have a variety of services here, from group counseling, the case management, office space, home base. So really, we have substance use services. So really, just a variety of services that whatever people may need help in, we offer here.
So you say you pretty much do everything,
Well,
counseling-wise.
we try. Yeah, we do. We can help you with whatever you might need over here at Family Community. Somebody else does the substance use, but we're here for you.
There you go. And their website is fcsserves.org. FCS, F is in family, C is in community, S is in services, serves.org. Just to throw a little cheap plug out there for you guys before you get started. So, Jennifer, the world's coming to an end, like we said before in the one podcast you did for us earlier in the year, the beginning of the pandemic. Killer hornets, pandemic, riots in the streets, election, and no matter what side you're on, it's probably frustrating. You're mad and hate everybody else, want to kill everybody else is kind of what I'm seeing on social media, unfortunately. So how are people doing in your world? When you go to work every day, from coworkers to clients, how are people handling all this chaos that's going on in America right now? What's going on there?
I think you see a variety of people, from, people who are mad and angry, on the streets.
Yeah.
Not driving very nicely. Mike, you see that? Still, it's getting worse out there. People that need anger management, even more so than before. We offer that here at Family Community, so I say that. We're still offering that. And then I think you also see what I see too amongst professionals. I think we've been doing so many of these Zoom meetings now.
Right.
Of course. So I think in the those meetings, what I notice on the videos is just that look of, I think, feeling tired and worn, and not to read too much into things, because I think it can be hard to pay attention in some of these Zoom meetings. You got 100 things you got to do too, and sometimes, if they're very long meetings, they can become cumbersome. But I think that look of just, feeling maybe hopeless, or when is all this going to come to an end? So a lot of us in the office, probably maybe for folks that are listening to, there is some interactions in the office. They may be going into a place versus just all remote work. I know in here that's nice for me, because I do have coworkers I'm seeing every day. So that probably helps with some of those feelings like you're alone out there. So I think the climate in here is good, but I think that's just what I'm noticing. Maybe just that tired, like, when is this going to be over? When are things going to be back to normal?
Yeah, it's definitely taking longer than that initial 3-week lockdown they told us, right? So, I get why they do that. Let's just take it one step at a time and kind of ease people through the process. Absolutely. But the problem is, it kind of puts in your mind, this is, we'll hunker down for a few months or a few weeks, whatever it is, and it goes back to normal, and it hasn't. And now everyone's working from home. I think it's good in a way, because we tend to miss the social interaction. I've heard several people over the years, whether it's through the internet, at work, at different locations, complain meetings are a waste of time. And I used to always enjoy them. I've been through meetings I didn't enjoy the content of it. But when I was working back at Path years ago, we developed such a camaraderie. We became like a little family in there. And literally, meetings were exciting because you got to see everyone that maybe were working in different locations. And we came in, we did like a little icebreaker, a little game. And Tracy Larlam at the time was the director. So she always had some like Plato's categories icebreaker, which, trying to be a manly man like me, I wouldn't think I'd be into, but I had fun. We had a blast. And we had such a family dynamic there that literally that was part of self-care, professional self-care, I'd call it. Like, we came in, we really got to like just get the weight off your chest, so to speak, from, working with clients and the trauma and just the stress of life. It became a unit there, and not being able to go in the office, you kind of lose that impact, right? I mean, and you're working from home, a lot of people are, or even if you're just not having that human interaction, it brings an element of loneliness. which
Yes.
is
Yep.
real relevant now. In fact, I think we did a survey, 37% of when we asked, hey, what are some factors causing you stress right now? I think it was almost 37. I'll have to look it up. I have the PowerPoint here, but it was at least 1 out of every 4 were struggling with loneliness. And so that's a really big deal. And I think that emotionally probably wears us down, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. Well, just yesterday we had one of our girls was retiring after like 20 some years at our agency. So I think once again, just being able to be in this office here, which a lot of people aren't right now, and it was just 7, 8 of us that are here. We have a lot of community-based workers, and again, being able to just have that little party for her, which
Right.
is now, for some being even those little things being taken away, for others, just to celebrate her career here with us, so missing out on some of those things. And I think that's part of the, we're hearing about that, aren't we, like in nursing homes and things like that, like what is becoming worse for people, or the debate over schools for kids and the sports and all of that. Is it the no interaction it's going to be harder, or the spread of the disease? So
You said something real important that I think it's really good for us as professionals and in our personal life as well. I think it kind of bleeds over, but you said you just observed a few things. You noticed a few things. So even on a Zoom call, people look tired. I've seen that in some of the meetings we've had, or the conversation, or you notice maybe they're not doing their hair like they did before. It's not, it's not about looks or appearance or style, but if that's different for the individual, maybe they're not ironing their clothes and they just, you know what I mean? There's these little things that we begin to notice that, a lot of times we'll say, well, that's not really my place. I don't know if I should really say anything. Those might be warning signs that, hey, maybe we need to connect with that person. And it doesn't mean we have to try to diagnose anyone and pretend we're a therapist, but
right.
just a
No.
simple, hey, how's it going? What's
Yes.
going
Right.
on? How you
Right.
doing? You don't even have to ask them if everything, you don't have to try to pick their heart and their brain and figure out what they're thinking. Sometimes just being present, right?
That's
And
right.
being positive is enough to help
Yes.
move them through that.
Yes. Yes. What I'm thinking, even I know we're speaking to a wide variety of professionals, but I think even in our therapist here, when we were all remote for quite a while, and you think, oh, this might be great, for those of us who are like, we're going into an office every day. Oh, wouldn't it be great to work from home? That's got to be so much easier. It's not. It's not. The back-to-back sessions that you might have, the back-to-back meetings, you hear people saying that this is tough. You've got the
Right.
kids now you're worrying about, I was on a meeting the other night with a caseworker, and the dog has taken over the computer, and you're trying to manage like all these different things, and it's hard. It's hard, and it is wearing. And some of the therapists were like, we can't wait to get back in the office, so it's just all those extra dynamics that it throws in. And so it is still being available for each other, or are you okay? Because they were saying the difference in how tiring it was becoming, and it was just wearing on them emotionally and physically. We know how the impact of, if you're draining emotionally, it wears on your physical health, and vice versa. You're having
Yeah.
physical problems, it takes a toll on you emotionally and mentally. So we know how all that plays into you as a whole. So it is
And,
being available and mindful, even in a Zoom call.
yes. Yes. And the mindfulness part is real important. Not even going into the meditation part, but just the self-awareness, I guess, would be a better word. I'm going to pop this up actually, because it's something we talked about. I'm going to share my screen here so everyone can see it out there. Let me figure this out, how to do it. When COVID broke out, I started noticing, just because the classes I've done with the veterans and different things, I started finally going through. I'm going through the stages of grief. That first stage, denial. This thing's a hoax. This is no different than a common flu, right? I don't know anyone that didn't say that initially. I remember calling the health department because I know them. I work with them a lot, and I'm over there. I'm like, hey, is this thing real? Is this a hoax? What's going on? And the staff, I know they were saying, I know, I'm thinking the same thing. And I'm like, wait, you're a health worker. You're supposed to have science. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. But no, they were going through it as well. And then here it comes, the lockdown. Here comes anger, and then you start saying, what are we going to do? What am I going to do for this time? How are we going to do? Who's going to lose their job? And that depression stage comes in. And then the bargaining comes in. Okay, yeah, shut down movie theaters, but don't take Planet Fitness out because that's
Yes.
my out.
Right.
And then
Right.
it kind of stirs back anger. You try to like do this, but don't do that. We need some kind of out. And then eventually at some point, hopefully you get to acceptance and go through there. And I with dealing with stress, I know this is a model for grief, but we go through a similar thing with stress, don't we? We kind of first deny that we have it probably. And then after it builds up and we start getting frustrated over little things. And then we kind of go into this process a little bit where we may go through that depression phase and, we stop combing the hair, we stop getting dressed, we stop taking care of small things, getting off our routine that we normally did. And then we kind of go through that process a little bit. Would you agree or disagree? You can disagree with that.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this whole the model that you have, and we know that with grief and loss, it's a process, and we do know it's not linear. You don't just go through one stage to another, just nice and neat. I
Right.
think years ago we thought maybe happened to go back and forth through stages. And I think the thing when we talk about COVID, it's not an event that happened and is over.
Right.
We're still in the process of figuring all of this out, and where it's all gonna end for us. It hasn't ended, and so I think that is that's difficult and weighing on people. You're still seeing all the effects of what's going on with the loss of jobs and schooling being in the air, and the impact that has on parents, and not knowing what if their kids are going to be at home then, and how that impacts their job, and are they the teachers then, and how they fit that in. And so all of that, it's not an event like the death of somebody that's very difficult
Sure.
on
Yeah.
you as a person, but then you can start to move through the grief process. So I think that complicates things. But I think the situation with stress, I think if it's not managed, then it
Right.
can lead into the depression and anxiety, and then your emotional, the mental. I think I was just noticing too, just in different ways, when you're very stressed, just the impact that has on you, even remembering things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Your day, that's something I've been mindful of, there, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. I plug everything in my phone because if I don't set alerts, I'll forget about it.
I know. It was like, did I already put my deodorant on today? That's a running joke up here, with all of us. No, I did.
Yeah, you're stage 3 right now. Let's talk about the self-awareness thing, and that, I'm just using the model of grief. The stage of grief is just kind of like a mental model to help people through this. But we go through this, and we can call it denial. I like the word blind spots, that I think stress becomes at some point so natural to us, we don't even realize we're stressed because it's so normal. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yes. Because if you ever it's weight on you and you're just dealing with it, and then maybe you go this has happened to me, I like those little funny kid videos, or it's been a day, or the little videos with the pets or something, or you go watch a really good movie, or you go out with your friends or your husband, whoever, just somebody that's good to you, and you really have a good time, and you come away from that and you're like, I feel so much better.
Yes.
And then you realize, well, wow, this was a day, so it's you maybe didn't realize how not okay you were feeling, because you've just begun. Well, I was talking to my sister the other day, and I think this is maybe, I don't know how many people are feeling like this. I don't want to get too emotional, but I think maybe right now we're just kind of all trying to, or many of us, just trying to get through the day.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out how to keep our head above water, how to make sense of everything going on with the politics, the virus. I keep coming back to the education and the school for kids. I think that's a huge thing going on right now for parents. I just can't, my kids are older, so I'm just so grateful that I'm not in that particular situation. But, we're just all trying to keep our head above water. So in this survival, how do we keep just surviving? So, and I think we want more from life, right? We want to thrive,
yeah, absolutely,
and excited and passionate, and and right now I wonder just how many of us are just trying to get through the day, so
getting wore out in the daily grind of things. And I actually talked to, when we did our call with Kelly yesterday, it kind of talked about for a little while in the veterans classes I was doing, I started noticing, and even before as veterans, when we did stuff with Miller Community Hall or Miller Community House and some other, PATH clients, different things, I started noticing that people were literally, their identities, they were stuck in the past. Even their thought process was all oriented into the past. And I started going around and say, hey, 10 seconds, in 10 seconds, tell me your life story. And I had an older man who was in his 70s probably. And he said, I'm an alcoholic. My dad was an alcoholic and his dad was an alcoholic. And here I am at so-and-so years old, right? And I started realizing his entire mentality was in the past. So what I started doing is I would go to a dry erase board and I would write past, present, future, and put lines down it like a chart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would put lines across, and each person in the group, I would put their name up there, and I would do the tell me your life story in 10 seconds kind of thing. And I would take his and say, okay, everything that you tell me, I'm going to mark as past, present, and future. And he had every one of his he had one mark in the present column, 2 or 3 in the past, and then 0 in the future column. And I started to realize, how our brains are even hardwired, right? We talked about this yesterday. I go to buy a Ford Focus, and all of a sudden they magically appear everywhere on the road. I've never bought a Ford Focus. I don't know why I was using that example, but you see them everywhere, and you're like,
yeah, I'm not the only one that has it.
I bought a GMC Acadia off my uncle years ago. I don't even have it anymore. And I remember I told my wife, I've never seen one of these on the road. I wouldn't even know they existed. It was an SUV. I wouldn't even know they made them if Uncle Dave didn't own one, So we kind of kid about me. And then all of a sudden I'm driving to Lorraine Violet home, and I have this impulse to look to the left. Just this weird feeling. And I look over to the left, and behold, there's a GMC Acadia. And then I have another feeling a minute down the road. Behold, to the right of me, there's another one. And I'm like, they're magically appearing as soon as I look to find us.
Sense, Mike.
And so I connect that with the past, present, future aspect of, if we don't have any focus, we have to obviously deal with the present moment. And I know people struggling through addiction, different things. I don't even like bringing that up because I think it takes the focus just on that one thing. But anything in life, we focus on the present to get through. Absolutely. But what I found, and I found with the clients, the ones that came in that I worked with, and I would ask them about their life, they would say, one gentleman came in and said, I can't even remember his name. I'm not allowed to tell you anyways, but I don't remember. He came in and said, I had a hard life growing up, made a lot of mistakes in my recent past. He said, but I'm going through the program now, but I'm not going to stay here long. So he recognized stuff he's been through, stuff he's done, mistakes he's making now, and the struggle right now. He's like, it's okay, because here's my plan. And he went A, B, and C. So he had 3 or 4 marks in the future column, 1 in the present, and maybe 1 or 2 in the past. And he didn't stay long. And I remember doing the exercise with him, and I'm going through that, and I'm like, wow, he's going to make it. So as hard as it seems to whoever's listening to this or watching this at home, you're going through it. Yes, stick to the grind, but always keep looking forward, because everything, our brains are literally hardwired to, in the decision-making process, to move us toward whatever we're focused on. Yep. And I can give you example after example of how people can get stuck in the past, because that's what they're focused on in their mind. But, acknowledge the past, honor it, respect it, deal with I like to say, keep your head in the clouds. That's the future, your vision for your life, and keep your feet on the ground. Anchor yourself in the present moment, get through today, but also keep your mind on where you're going. And it creates like a pathway for your decision-making process. So you don't have to try so hard to do things and get through there. Now, the stress that builds up doesn't always make that easy. But what I do is, when I catch myself in that rut, maybe I don't shower for a day and I'm not going to shave. So I grow a beard out now, so it's a little easier. But whatever process I'm going through, and I realize, hey, you know what? I'm getting into a rut here. And once I have that self-awareness like that, I try to make that intention to change it, because it's like digging a hole if you've ever been stuck in the mud, we rode dirt bikes as a kid, but in a car, anything, in the snow, you dig a bigger hole, keep digging a bigger hole. So keeping our mind focused on that, how important is that from people that
Well, I
we've
think
seen
one
have
of the
been
words
successful?
you were saying is it's not letting it build up. I think it's
Right.
like we run an anger management group here at which I love doing. Um, and I think it's the same kind of concept. It's like you let the anger build up, what tends to happen? You're going to have an explosion and nobody's going to appreciate, winds
Right.
up in some bad situations. And same thing for your stress. So it's doing things to kind of prevent the buildup too. It's not waiting until you're like, where you didn't shower, Mike. Okay. Your wife has to point
All
that
the
out to
video
you. Yeah.
people do the.
It's not waiting till that point. So it's doing those like daily things, to prevent that, that point.
I can't
So,
believe you could smell me through the Zoom
well, I
call,
did.
though.
We have smell-o-vision over here, family community. That's how on top of
Smell-o-vision.
it. That's how cutting edge we are here, family community. So, but it's doing those daily things like, not everybody's into the meditation and mindfulness kind of things, but that or the exercising or, I don't know, like I really appreciate like good candles. I mean, it could be simple like that. I light it like a nice candle that I like, or songs, we talked before in another one, like it's the type of songs. It's not like the, I just lost my lover drowning in my booze kind of song,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
going to tend to bring you
So that
down.
means you're not allowed to listen to country music at all.
Well,
You're
I
just
don't
allowed
know.
to.
There's some good country songs out there, but
I have a lot of friends that are going to get mad at me after hearing that, but it's
so
okay.
maybe there's one. I found my Jane. I don't know. It's something like that. So, but it's doing those things daily that can try to keep up your spirit, and at the same time, it's like it's validating how you're feeling. We are in times that are very uncertain, so we don't need to deny it. But it's, what are we going to do about it? Because there is a lot of life to live. Many of us are very fortunate to have people around us that love us, and have the food and shelter and clothing, a lot of blessings in our life. And working with a lot of populations, from people in jail, they were able, when I do like, what are your blessings? I could go around and many of them were finding blessings too. So, we have many blessings in our life. So it is
That's good.
acknowledging
That's good.
those, but validating that, yeah, we're feeling anxious today, but like, what are we going to do daily to try to manage it so it doesn't lead to the not showering or the anxiety and the depression that can get us in a state where we have the ongoing negative thoughts, racing minds, panic attacks, feelings of you're not wanting to get up, hopelessness,
Right.
hopelessness, and then even worse, like maybe maybe nobody cares if I wake up tomorrow. Maybe I should just end it. So it's what can we do every day?
Yeah,
To keep
finding that
ourselves
meaning is
well.
definitely important. I always say three things. It boils down to three things in any case when it comes to people: healthy relationships, a strong sense of purpose, and a strong identity. Like if you have those three to whatever degree, if you have relationships, identity, and purpose, you know who you are, you know where you fit in, what role you are, do you feel accepted, you have a sense of meaning for your life, whether that's just to be a parent, a sibling, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be something grandeur. It doesn't have to be, but you have a strong sense of purpose. You have people around you, and you have a strong sense of yourself that you're going to be happy and have a prosperous, internally prosperous life. Um, and I'm gonna pop this up right here. Wait, before I do that, there is a mental model that I would do in class, and I would draw a stick figure volcano because I can't really draw.
Oh yeah.
And I would put where the magma would be, and I adapted it from something I saw years ago. I would put life experiences down and there's like a little vent, and we would draw arrows to where the pressure would come, like a volcano, you have the magma, you have the pressure from the gases, and then it causes an eruption. And then I would write perception. And then above the surface where the volcano come above the ground level, I would show an eruption, a stick figure eruption, and I would write behaviors that a lot of my clients were dealing with. And it could have been anger, depression, anxiety, hoarding. It doesn't matter what it was, shopping, overeating, kind of put that out there. And then so it kind of turned into, it's real simplification, but life experiences plus perception or interpretation of those experiences. So everyone goes through tough things, but how we perceive it, how we interpret it, individual case by case, turns into a perception. And those perceptions at some point turn into belief systems, right? And those belief systems determine everything how we respond to everything we do, which that 20% we see above the iceberg, that whole scenario is the behavior. And, I don't know how many times I try to say, I'm fat, not going to do this no more. Get in shape. You know what I'm saying? And I try to hit it above the surface, and it doesn't really do. I mean, you can do it for a few weeks and try to fake it till you make it and all these different things. But what happens is it doesn't really have that impact. But you either have to give yourself a new experience, which, in our world, we tell people, person, place, people, places, and things, right? Change those things, change your environment. That's like setting yourself up with a new life experience. What I found most successful with people I've worked with, including myself, is change the way I view stuff. Going through abuse and stuff as a child, I had to reinterpret how that impacts and say, hey, this experience resulted into a lie that I bought into, that everyone close to me is going to manipulate and take advantage of me. And that really hindered a lot of relationships for me. It kept me from getting close to people. So as I reprocess that stuff, it kind of goes back and helps with that. Right. So I'm going to share my screen again, because I have to stop myself, because I'll go an hour like that, like I'm in class. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pop this up. Start right here. This is a real cheap PowerPoint version. So I kind of see it like this.
Well, we won't charge extra for this one.
We won't charge for this. So I kind of see it like this, especially talking to Kelly and just kind of going through as we were talking. I'm like, I tried just to create a mental model for people to see. So if we're talking to people that, let me get through the pyramid first, I guess. This first bottom part in the blue here is the individual level. That's self-care, our habits, routines. What are we doing for ourselves? Mm-hmm. Just individually. When I'm at home, am I watching a TED Talk? Is that going to help me feel more? Am I going to FaceTime a friend? Whether it's relational, task-oriented, doesn't matter. Meditation, reading, like you said, everyone has a whole different gamut of stuff that they're into. Some people like reading, some like prayer and meditation, some like exercise, some don't, some like sleep, some like hunting, some like just being outdoors, whatever it is. There's that level. And then we get to the level where, man, the stress that we're dealing with goes well beyond what we can manage, right? And then we typically go to our support systems. And we know this is a lot of the issue with under-resourced individuals and families. They don't have those strong support systems. And that's really a piece missing there. And I know, like, when we work with individuals that go through, they don't have the support system. That's one thing we try to encourage them to try to build up, by reaching out to people and expanding their network and building family up and all that stuff. So the support system level, I'm going to talk to my dad. I'm going to reach out to, I have a friend that's a plumber. So our plumbing goes, guess who gets a call? So my wife works in finance. So when he has a finance issue, he calls her like, hey, what do you think I should do about it? So there's an exchange there. There's a support system that builds up, but there's a place, right, that this support system can't even help us. Maybe we talk to our sister or whatever it is, and we kind of get it off our chest, but there's this professional level that we sometimes really need, and probably more than not, because there's still, okay, we have the stigma thing, but there's just some people like, there's still that self-awareness. Like, I don't know, I'll just deal with that. I'm good for a while. So I guess my question, why the whole thing to set this up to show you is, where do we really need to go to get help? If I'm at the individual level and I start implementing things to help take care of it, but it's still not having it may be beneficial, maybe meditating reduces the stress 5 to 10%, and exercise takes it 5 to 10%, and then reading takes it down another 5%. So I'm 25% better, but I'm not really getting that breakthrough that I'm really looking for. So I start talking to people in my support systems, and maybe I'm doing better, but there's just something I'm not being able to break through that wall. I guess what I'm getting at is, what advice can you give someone that's going through that may think, they may be reluctant to hit those higher levels there of that professional type level, and say, it's time for me to really go to a support group, a counselor, a therapist, whatever that is. I'm talking on the self-awareness point. What advice would you give them? Like, at what point do they seek professional help that they can't do it on their own? And even the friends and family around them, even if they're supportive, can't really help them walk. At what point do they hit that professional?
Well, I think as far as being self-aware, I think if it's come to a point where it's impacting your day-to-day living, like I had a fella in here, and it was recent, and To my knowledge, I think he had never reached out for help before, but he had found that, I believe since COVID, his business had been affected, which had resulted in impacting his marriage. And
Oh,
he had
absolutely.
just reached a point of, in his opinion, a very low point of his life. And he was scaring him, that some of the thoughts that he was having. And so he decided to reach out at that point. So for him, he just had not had these different feelings before. Maybe it come and go, but not to this level, and it was impacting
Right.
him significantly. So, and I will say, probably for men more than women, it's more difficult.
Right. Yeah.
To say. I mean, we know that for men, for taking care of their physical health is even hard. That's difficult, or to say I need help. So that, if you feel like it's impacting you significantly from day to day, something different that you've not felt before, definitely thoughts of feelings of suicide, that hopelessness, helplessness, prolonged periods of time. So it's different from, yeah, I'm sad, this is not a good day, not a good couple days, to like, you're feeling these feelings for a length of time that is now impacting your relationships, your job, financially, or, things like that. The other thing I think is, for our agency and probably for other agencies, we've been allowed to do teletherapy, which isn't the best model maybe for lots or some people, but it can also open that door maybe for people who in the past have been hesitant to go into a place because maybe someone will see me that I know, or
Right. Or they'll
so
think I'm crazy.
yeah,
That's one
they'll
I've heard a
think I'm
lot.
crazy. Yeah,
They'll say a specific agency I won't name in this broadcast, but literally like, no, I'm not one of those people. Like, what do you mean?
yeah,
They
right,
they
right,
think they're dealing with people in straitjackets that are howling at the moon,
yep,
like some
right.
1950 version of insanity. I'm like, that's not what mental health is. That's
And I'll
not what.
just, like, even as counselors, we've all, well, I don't know, we all, but like many of us have been in counseling ourselves. I got to say, like, we better, as counselors, we better be open to the counseling process and return there as needed. When I
Right.
switch jobs, I tell people coming, because I have to do diagnosis when they come in. It sounds like a big word to me, it can be a scary word to people, an assessment, diagnosis. And really, an assessment is about us talking about what's been going on. I got an adjustment disorder when I changed jobs. I said, let's just hope I don't get the one that, is an acting out one. So,
Right.
because it's an adjustment to, like, well, even the pandemic, that's an adjustment to, a new baby, a death, a divorce, that's an adjustment, which means there's a life stressor. You're adjusting. And then in time that you will figure that part out and you return back to your level of functioning before that. So, we all have things we go through. So
Yes.
it's, but it's scary too. I understand, to reach out, but maybe the teletherapy will ease some people's minds that should now be available by most agencies. I know, like, the state has relaxed their guidelines, for us, which was something we weren't allowed to do beforehand. We didn't have the platform and all the different rules and regulations, and now we can do that. So many
One
places
of
are
the
able.
most disappointing and frustrating parts of the mental health world is I hear this from the EAP programs, employers. I hear it. You see it with people in your life. You see every active shooter, and I'm not tying it to mental health. Okay, I'm not trying to create that. I'm just saying anything like newsworthy. You hear people say there are warning signs the entire way, and so I really, it's such a thing to have that self-awareness of where I'm really at. Where each of us, where are we really on this scale? And it's not like you have to have a number or try to self-diagnose, but really just to say, hey, even if I like to think of it, maybe I risk it just in case, like a preventative care. Even if I don't need certain types of things, I'm going to go to get a counselor. I'm going to reach out to my support system. I'm going to practice this new form of self-care, whatever you are, that little pyramid thing that we did, to really just say it may be beneficial at this time for people just to instead of taking a risk, like, oh, don't take a risk to avoid it, take the risk and be courageous of actually just saying, hey, if I go to a counselor, maybe I don't have to go back. Let me go and check it out and see
Yeah.
what it is, because no one has the goals of keeping a patient for the rest of their life, right? No, the whole is to walk them through the process. And I think we talked about this earlier in the year when we did a podcast, but LeBron James spends something that was like $1.8 million on his body, like through massages and treatment and physical therapy, just to be able to perform at that level. I know we don't have that kind of money, but I'm just thinking that mentality though, of what if we took that same value that he has for his physical body for our mental health, our emotional health, our relational health. Maybe we're struggling in the marriage. Who do we have to reach out to that's healthy, that can help guide us through that, or whatever the case is? And so I really like to see that shift, so people don't wait till it's almost too late, and they're going to have to go through a harder process.
I had I don't want to just say the fellas. I've had women in here too that they might be coming in here. At Family Community, we have a lot of referrals from probation, the probation department. So maybe they were like overexcited, like oh wait, I'm gonna go see Miss Jen today. But so just even this week, I had a fella come in. So part of the assessment, we are talking about why you're coming for probation, but also like things that have gone on in the past, things that you're experiencing now. And so many folks there's a lot of anxiety and depression, or they've had things in their past. So by the end, he says, I have really enjoyed talking about some of this. It was really helpful. And for his particular situation, it was just a one-time bad decision. He didn't need anything further. But I said to him, maybe one day you might want to consider, if you'd like, come back to maybe talk about some things that have gone on that might keep resurfacing, and I think he thought it was like weird that like he really enjoyed the process.
No, I've seen people, I think a lot of people that go to AA, even well beyond their addiction to alcohol, they enjoy the camaraderie, the relationship. And I know a lot of people that went through it, and they'll quote the big book, and I'm not real familiar with their programming. And, and I'm not promoting AA. Some people don't like it, whatever it is, but just whatever it is, whatever helps. You don't have to agree with the philosophy, but when people, yes, if it goes through there, and I hear people, well, that's what it says in the big book. I've had people say it to me, and I'm like, and they enjoy talking about it because it's something they can connect with. And I know in some of the groups I've had, with a lot of people, male and female, but then especially the veterans who are all pretty much, all guys in those classes, where I had guys come in, one guy had come in one time, and we had to come up with some kind of name for what I did. So let's just call it life skills and keep it generic. That way I'm not, but we talk about like this kind of stuff. And I don't do any kind of therapy stuff, but it's like, I try to get them, if they need it, to say, hey, this could be something you may need to go into to take it to the next step. But I've had guys come in there. I remember one guy was just like, oh yeah, I'm so-and-so years old. I'm an old man. I guess I don't have any freaking life skills, with some other language, kind of thing. And I looked at him and I was like, hey, you're going to be fun today. You're going to be my favorite participant. And he like gave me this dirty look. And by the end of the class, he was loving it. And he stayed over and he's like, I really appreciate what you do. This is amazing. I'm going to come back every time. And it's funny how you always have this image of this fear almost of like, you're not going to like it. They're not going to like you. It's not going to work out. These things never work. And then you get there and you're like, wow, I actually feel better when I leave there. So that's a real important piece.
Or I think there's people that think, my gosh, if I tell them what I really am thinking and feeling, they're probably going to put me away or pink slip me somewhere. And being very honest, I get this because I remember thinking this myself years ago. If I tell them that I've had thoughts of hurting myself, they're probably not going to let me leave. But the reality is, it is our job to check it out. Are you suicidal right now? Do you have a plan right now? But it is our job to hold that with you and to talk about that with you. And if it's been like many people have had this fleeting thought, or maybe nobody would care if I woke up tomorrow. And that's what it is. It is to talk about that with you and give you some hope and what's kept you here, and to just have that conversation with you and make sure you're not presently suicidal. But we can handle that. It doesn't mean we're going to send you to the hospital. So it's okay to talk about that with us. And I think there's relief in knowing that you can share that with the counselor and not get automatically shipped up somewhere for the next 3 weeks. We're not putting you away anywhere. But I think it's a valid concern that people have. I've had people be very worried here. And if you've never been through a counseling process, you would be worried. Or what can I tell you? What are you going to do with what I tell you? But you actually might just find you like us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and connecting to a counselor is very important too. So that's another thing. So here's how I want to end this podcast.
Yeah.
Jennifer, look in the camera there and just speak to those people.
The camera, is it you or is it on my side? I've been wondering this whole time.
It's got you. Wherever your webcam is, you're doing good. So just.
It's on my.
Yes. Yeah, you can see it right. You didn't even know where it's at. Probably a little pinhole right at the top.
Community, it could be on the back end of this. I shouldn't have said that.
All right. Don, you didn't hear that, whatever you're watching right now.
We're cutting edge with the smell-o-vision, though.
Yes, with the smell-o-vision. She can smell me all the way through in another city.
I don't know if the camera's on.
I love the smell-o-vision. But just look at the camera. If someone's struggling right now, and they're listening to this, they're like, hey, man, that's great. You guys are having a fun conversation. But what does this have anything to do with what I'm dealing with? If someone's feeling hopeless, they're tired, they're just wore out, they're weary from COVID-19, fear of job loss, I think it was, again, almost 35-40%, somewhere around there of our members said part of the stress is the fear of getting laid off or losing their job. So there's a lot of that of people that may not have to, some of the people we work with at FCS, they've been through the ringer 100 times. A lot of people going through it now may have never experienced that level of stress, or, that they're dealing with now in the middle of the pandemic, like parents passing away and not being able to go visit them in the hospital. I have friends who, had emergency type surgeries that went in, but or their kid got sick and they weren't allowed in. And it was like almost traumatizing. Like, I can't be there for my baby when he's in the ER. So just speak in the camera right now and just encourage them. What would you say to them if that person was in front of you right now?
Well, I don't want to get too emotional, Michael, either. I can do that. But, I first want to say that, like, for me personally, I am sorry, for just the things that's going on right now. Not that I'm personally responsible or that me or Michael are, but that for the pain, I think, in the brokenness that, that you are personally experiencing, and none of us can relate to that or have just that experience that you're having. As far as from us or me, have I had my own personal experiences with pain and suffering? Yes. And so do I want us to feel like there is hope out there? Absolutely, there's hope. Not all of us, but some of us, there's a belief in a higher power, and that there is hope, and that there's a lot of life to live. And like I had said to Michael, there's blessings out there every day. If we look for them and find them, they're there. And I'm fortunate in my life to have a husband and children and food and,
Right.
just many, many blessings. And not everyone is that fortunate, but there are people out here that do care for you, and you are very important, and you have a purpose, and you're valuable. And I don't know, quite honestly, the people that I work with, some of them have never been told that. So if you haven't been, I want to tell you that now you have a purpose. And if you're suffering from addiction or mental illness, that you have a purpose out there. If you have children that maybe you've lost or aren't talking to you, that we are here to help you. And it's not just family and community. There are many, many agencies or other agencies in Portage or any county that do want to help you and provide you hope and work with you on your self-esteem or how you're feeling or relationships you're in. We want to be here, and we do want to help you because you're valuable and you have a purpose, and there are people that need you. And so whatever you need, we are here for you. And if you're thinking about harm to yourself or whatever that looks like, that hang in there, because you're important. You're that important. You're important to us. We may not even know you, but you're here, and we want you to continue to be here. And we want to encourage you today.
Yeah, absolutely. To all those people listening that may be struggling, she said it. You're worth it. You're worth fighting for, and you're worth thriving for. You have meaning in your life, and not only can you survive the pandemic and everything going on, but you can thrive in it. I just want to encourage you and give you courage and hope that you can make it through this. So, Jennifer, thank you so much.
We're going to do it, Michael.
That's right. I feel like Tony Little. We can do it. So
we can do it. You sing, Michael. We can sing a song on the way out. We'll practice that for next time.
So Jennifer, if someone wants to get a hold of you or Family and Community Services for counseling, how could they connect with you in the department over there in Gogler and Kent?
So we have a phone number. It's 330-677-4124. And Bree or Linda will take your phone calls and we can get you scheduled. So we have the, like I said, community-based counseling, case management, or office-based.
So
I am not remembering the email though, Michael.
That's okay. So if someone comes out and says, I don't even know what I need. Can someone like that call and set an appointment up and just get a basic
I can tell you what you might need.
evaluation or something? And I don't know how that works because I haven't gone through that process.
You'll come in for the assessment with me or one of the therapists, and then we can just help guide you from there.
Awesome. That sounds great. So Jennifer, thank you so much. And
you're welcome, Michael.
Everybody out there listening, be healthy, be well, be safe.
Okay.